What I get a sense of is with the main energy of the week is going to kind of shift. Beginning of the week is a bit kind of an older energy that we're kind of getting rid of in a sense. And then as we head into the end of the week, especially on the vernal equinox or the astrological new year, around the same time when Mercury is going direct, there's this newness that is beginning. So there's almost like this old stuff, then a preparation for this shift, and then the shift that occurs near the end of the week. And I speak more of that in this video. Just a reminder that this is a mundane forecast and not at all an all signs or sun sign kind of a forecast, as I don't do just simple sun sign forecasts. Okay, so let's get into it here for this week. Of course, we're going to start here on Sunday, March 15th. And at the very top of my list is when we're going to have this Mercury retrograde conjunct Mars. Now, of course, this has already happened by the time this chart is here, as this happens basically overnight from Saturday into Sunday. But let me just... Instantly, I get a volatile communication. This seems to relate to, it's always hard when it's in Pisces, something that's hidden, something that's either that's coming out, or that has come out, or is being said, or it's in relation to this volatile communication is something that is coming out in some way. It feels very strong and intense. I get like male political figures saying stuff, saying something, what I get a sense of is it's Trump, and then there's other male political figures involved, and there's volatile communication here. And it's about something that's been hidden or has been hiding, and is now come out, or now is coming out, either coming out through this specific conversation or has already come out, and is the premise for this volatile communication. And I'm being reminded now again, because of this Mercury retrograde, that we're going over these, to pay attention to this, we're going over these old grounds, and understanding how we've been deceived, manipulated based on what has come up. So I feel like that is the stuff surrounding this volatile communication that has come up. And of course, this could relate to stuff surrounding the Epstein files. This could relate to a lot of other things. It's not just that has kind of come to the surface in this past while, although that is the huge thing. But there's a lot of other things that have kind of come up, or we're being made more aware. It's almost as if things happen and the control that these people once had over covering it up, they don't have it right now. So we see it a lot more plainly for what it is than falling for the deception or the fog or whatever they've tried to do before. It's like that's not going to work anymore. And that's leading to this volatile communication in whatever way. Okay? We're also going to have the sun here in this semi-sextile to Chiron. This feels like highlighting hidden, almost like hidden powers that have violated this aspect of sovereignty. I feel like this is happening on multiple levels within multiple countries, that kind of thing. There's hidden powers that have violated aspects of sovereignty. And that's not about what's happening now, that's about what has happened in the past. Okay, just to be clear. And it's highlighting these things, it's highlighting these wounds of what has happened to make us aware, so that I get a sense of, so that we don't let it happen again? Or is that so aware so that it's like, yeah, no, it's like setting a boundary to not have that kind of thing happen again, really, in whatever way. Okay, so we're also going to have this Mercury retrograde in semi-square to Chiron. Now, what I get a sense of is this relates to this aspect of independence. It's like, or this sense of self, really, sense of self, sense of identity that has been wounded through what I get a sense of is abuse that has been hidden, happening behind the scenes, that kind of a thing. Again, this can relate, to what has come out or what we've realized through the Epstein files, but it could also be in a lot of other ways as well, either in relation to that or this. Obviously, this is a mundane reading, so this feels like it's political or something like that in a way, okay? In terms of this awareness of these wounds to their independence, sovereignty, etc. Okay, I know I said before it didn't quite feel like sovereignty, but it feels like that aspect in terms of like independence, though. Sometimes it's really hard to articulate how I feel with what comes through intuitively here, okay? We're also going to have this Mercury retrograde in square to Black Moon Lilith. Oddly, this feels like fixing a lot of how we've been outcasted in the world. What I get a sense of is populations outcasted by those who were in control, like the people that were outcasted. This feels like on a much more global scale. And this Mercury retrograde feels like it's a localization of dealing with a lot of these things. This is the first time I've got this specifically through this Mercury retrograde, because but what I get to say, okay, they're reminding me you're still going over this old ground of this deception of these kinds of things. But it's now, because this is being brought up in this way, we're dealing with it now in terms of these hidden things, and we may not fully understand what those things were and how exactly it's being dealt with. There's this conjunction to Mars here, so there's obviously possibly intense action being taken, vocal action being taken, or action being taken in some way regarding how people have been outcasted by what it get a sense of is by the negative control structures that have existed in the world, whether it's negative political leaders or whatever. I mean, we've all seen the files, we've all seen that kind of stuff. So those types of people that have been in control, whether they were in politics, whether they were not, whether they just controlled the money, those kinds of things, okay? But there's this, how we collectively have been outcasted by this, like, 1%, if you want to call it that. And action has been it feels like it has been taken or is still being taken to rectify that outcasted behavior, in a sense. Okay, so that's it for Sunday the 15th. Let's move on to Monday the 16th here. Of course, this is when we're going to have the Sun in sextile to Juno. I feel like this is still highlighting the backdoor shadiness of a lot of these commitments and contracts that have been pre-existing in our world. With this Pisces energy, it's really highlighting what has been hidden. There's a strong positive energy behind this that is not allowing the negative energy to use this Pisces energy to cover things up, but this positive energy is using this Pisces energy to actually show the deception, to have it come to light now. And now we're seeing this, and we're seeing how these relationships and commitments and contracts, again, stuff with the Epstein files is coming into my mind again. And I said, with this Mercury retrograde and how this has all happened around this time frame, that kind of stuff isn't going away. Okay, regardless of whatever else is happening in the world, that's still going to be here and that's still ongoing, regardless of whatever. All right, that's something that's not going to go away due to, this retrograde type of energy. Okay, but it's something that is like that could be that directly or is like that. But I feel like it's still in relation to it because it's kind of like the old world control structures, whether you were part of that network or not, you were still involved in some way in the negative control of the world, the deals, all of these things the billionaires that have all the money that are trying to control things, who think they're above the law, that kind of stuff. Okay, in relation to that, it could be that specifically, however, it could be things that are like that as well. Okay, we're also going to have, where are we here? Venus in semi-square to Uranus. This, what I feel like is, so I said Venus in Aries, I believe in last week or the week before, was going to be a lot of angry people. What I feel is with this tension that has come up, action is being taken by people. It feels like groups of people or something like that, towards enacting certain aspects of change in this, in a way, it feels like setting boundaries monetarily in a sense as well too. As Uranus is in Taurus and this semi-square is relating to that, there's people taking action to, it feels like groups of people taking action to enact this kind of change. Whether it's monetary or whether it's just simply big, large shifts and changes that need to push and move, it can relate to Taurus as well, as it reflects the aspects of this physical world. When we go to make larger shifts and changes, it can be difficult to move, like trying to move a building or trying to move whatever. Like there's the word I'm getting is logistics, like larger logistics at play that are involved here, but due to the tensions that have come up in whatever way, that energy is used in order to take action by groups of people or certain people to accomplish certain aspects of change in whatever way. We're also going to have now Mars in this semi-square to Juno. Feels like those old partnerships that I mentioned, trying to take action to cover things up, to fix things, and they're floundering. They're 100% floundering because this Pisces energy where Mars is, it's not allowing the cover up like it did before. It's just blatantly showing what they're actually trying to do and taking action to try to cover up their own shit or their own whatever, right? And we're clearly seeing that, especially still with this conjunction. It's still in a few degrees conjunction here with Mercury retrograde. And that Mercury retrograde is bringing up having a re-review of these things. We're really, it's being thrown in our face how fucked we've been by those that have been trying to control or run the world, who think they're above the law or think they're whatever, and tried to make us all into fucking slaves and just treat us like shit while they went out and did whatever the fuck they wanted and abused the fuck out of everyone. That's, whether it's that, it's in relation to that. Whether, like I said, it's related to the Epstein files or related to whatever else in whatever way that is similar or in relation to that. That's what I get a sense of what that is. All right. So that's Monday the 16th. Let's move on to Tuesday the 17th here. Again, there's nothing major peaking on this day. So let's move on to Wednesday the 18th. And of course, this is when we're going to have this new moon in Pisces happening at 7:23 p.m. Central. Okay? New moon in Pisces marks the end of eclipse season, so that eclipse month is now over. Doesn't necessarily mean the intensity is going to be over, but a strong part, a huge chunk of that intensity is over, but it's still going to be intense, I feel, at least with the fallout of what we've experienced within the past lunar month. And of course, this Mercury retrograde that has happened during that eclipse season is still going to carry a lot of that forward. So that intensity is still going to be there, just maybe not at the level of which it has been. Okay? Okay, so new moon in Pisces. What I get a sense of is it feels like there's an aspect of change and things just flowing with these aspects of change. There's a strong aspect of this highlighted mutable energy of Pisces with this, is what I get a sense of. That's like, okay, no, we're things are shifting, like things are sliding in and out of place, flowing in and out of place, like it's just happening. We're just seeing it happen. It's it's like we're watching the movie, we're watching it happen, but things, once one thing leaves, something just slides right back into its place. And I get a sense of that relates to people, that relates to commitments, contract. It relates to like everything that happens on whether like it's a global political or economic kind of a level, whatever. Like that stuff is just happening like that. And what I get a sense of is there's this aspect of newness here. And for whatever reason, I'm being drawn to the fact that the North Node is in Pisces, okay? And we're relating to this new path and this newness forward. Now, there is no conjunction to the North Node or any really relation to it with this new moon other than this quad novile here to the South Node, okay? There's nothing relating to the North Node here. Okay, because I brought up the quad novile. Usually I don't reference noviles here, but we're just gonna go with it. Okay. It's okay. This is the quad novile here is signaling this learning to let go of the old world, and that's what it's driving this new path forward, this new unknown path forward with the North Node in Pisces, but also with this new moon in Pisces, this new kind of unknown energy. But that quad novile is learning to let go of that old stuff. We're realizing that no, we really need to learn to let go of that, and giving birth to something new in that process of learning to let go, and giving birth of that letting go process and giving birth to something new at that same time with that quad novile energy. Okay? What I get though is this new moon in Pisces, it feels very politically driven. I don't know how else to say it. I see political figures. I mean, likely Trump, likely whoever he's fighting with now, you know, like, but like whoever, I see them, like they're either on a podium or they're up talking about something, and they're saying something about how something is new, how we're moving forward in this new way, this new direction, or something like, whether it's that specifically or something along those lines that is occurring with this, that is what I'm getting, okay? And I'm just going to leave it at that. We're also going to have this Venus in this biquintile to the South Node as well. I feel like this is a bit of an ousting of some people. Or people ousting other people, or people... How the hell do I say this? It's like people rallying up and being angry in wanting to oust the old way, the old people that were in charge, the old ways of being, what we thought was practical, that kind of a stuff, based on what has come up through what has been happening behind the scenes or what was hidden, which is what relates to that biquintile energy. Okay, we're also going to have Venus in square to Jupiter, now direct. What do we got with that? This is the intensifying what I already just said. Because people want to feel more comfortable. They don't want to be stuck in a world that was controlled by pedos or controlled by like these assholes that just want to take all the money and think they're above the law, that kind of a thing, whether it's explicitly that or whether it's in relation to something that is like that. That is the kind of energy that I am getting here. We're also going to have the Sun in sextile to Uranus, which means that this new moon in Pisces is in sextile to Uranus. And again, I'm being driven back to that's where a lot of this aspect of change is coming through as well. I mentioned that before, and I said with this mutable energy of Pisces, but again, it is also relating to this Uranian energy as well, and pushing for a lot of this change in that sense. That is also playing it. So it's there's a huge aspect of that mutable energy of Pisces that is at play. And I feel like that is that prominent energy, as that is a soul new moon energy. However, pushing that, okay, what I get a sense of now with this Uranus energy is not just change, it's progress. So it's using that mutable energy of Pisces to basically be that changing force, or that ending of the old way, or that ending, that mutable, that need to change. And then that aspect of that Uranian energy to make progress. And moving forward. The word I'm getting is like political progress, but how this relates to obviously our material world, and what I get a sense of as well, these big shifts and changes that are occurring here. Okay, and yeah, so that's Wednesday the 18th. Let's move on to Thursday the 19th. And what I get a sense of as well too is that this is like wrapping up at a time when Mercury is about to go direct. So this is wrapping up that kind of stuff with this new moon, with this Mercury retrograde in Pisces. It's wrapping a lot of that up for, almost feels like to prepare for this Mercury direct kind of an energy, which is still seemingly going to feel like what I've said about Mercury retrograde, or the post-shadow, right? Or sorry, pre-shadow, in that we're going over these old grounds, how we've been deceived, etc. But it's like it's being worked on, and now with this Mercury direct, the post-shadow is going to be working on what we've seen come up, and what we've seen, or also what we've dealt with in terms of that during the retrograde, going over it again and moving forward in a lot of those ways as well. Okay, so on Thursday the 19th here, of course, Mercury goes direct on the 20th, but we'll get to that in a sec. Of course, on the 19th, we're going to have Venus here in quintile to, where are we here? Pluto. So Venus here in Aries, in quintile to Pluto in Aquarius. What I get a sense of is there's people involved. This feels like people that work for like higher level people, like people that work for governments, or they're like directly relating to those in charge, whether it's like, what do you call them? Like people who assist like the president or the prime minister, or things like that, or part of the workings of their environment, okay, that are there to help to enact this progress and change that is moving forward in whatever way. Okay, and it's not just one country specifically. This feels like it could be many as well. All right, so that's Thursday the 19th. Let's move on to Friday the 20th. And again, I feel like that relates to this, where we're going to have this Mercury about to go direct. And what I'm also seeing here now is we're going to have the vernal equinox, or the spring equinox, with the sun coming into Aries on March 20th, basically right before Mercury goes direct. Okay, so let me just see the exact time Mercury is going to go direct here. I have it in my notes. And goes direct March 20th, 1:32 p.m. Central at 8 degrees 29 minutes of Pisces. Okay, so yes, and then the equinox is going to be basically 8:47 a.m. It's roughly, yeah, so that's when we're going to have the sun coming into Aries, and then Mercury retrograde not long after, or Mercury going direct not long after. And I feel like this is signifying the beginning of what I get a sense of is almost like a new world in a lot of ways, based off of what has occurred not only during the past eclipse season, but as well during the past Mercury retrograde. And this feels like, so let's do this Mercury direct first. Like I said, it feels like we're still dealing with this stuff that happened during the retrograde, but it's now making progress forward on what we've realized, what we've recognized, how we've been deceived, all of those things. It's like now progress forward is being made in some way. Okay? And with this sun coming into Aries, first, this is more significant. So usually when I talk about the sun going into signs, I don't really do or focus specifically on this, because all I get a sense of is the energy of that sign. However, this is the start of this is the astrological new year. So this is the beginning of the new cycle of the sun, okay, in reference to us being on Earth, all right? So this is the start of this new cycle. And so what I get a sense of is all that has happened in this past and now is relating to this sun coming into Aries, which is now the start of the new cycle, or the astrological new year, where, you know, it's like starting anew, starting fresh again, in whatever way, based upon what we've gone through this Mercury retrograde, through this eclipse season, through all of this intensity. There's a newness now and a new direction that we're obviously heading in. It feels like all of this feels like it's done on purpose. And I'm not saying this in a sense that astrology happens to us and we're pushed by these planets to do these things and all that stuff. It's like, no. Astrology, it's how you use the energy. It's how it is used. And I've always said that. I've always been guided that, etc. Okay, you can look in the description of this video as well as on my website where I explain that a bit more in terms of how I do this and what my guidance has been. Now, so what I mean by that is it's almost like, so there's a positive driving force that is helping a lot that is going on now. And it almost feels like those that are becoming in control now, the good guys, that we really don't know yet, that's happening behind the scenes in a lot of ways that we're not really fully seeing, but the ones that are good know and understand the correct timings of things and what to do and how to do it and how to take care of it. And they are using this energy to their advantage. And that is what I get a sense of with this new cycle beginning, with the sun now coming into Aries. It's this beginning of this new year, new astrological new year, this new cycle of the sun. And now, because Mercury coming direct and what has gone over, all of these things, is now we're really beginning to be moving forward, because now the positive side has more power and more control over appropriately using this energy than the bad guys did, because they knew how to use this too, and that this has been manipulated like this for a very long time and made to look like astrology was forcing us into doing certain things because that's how they manipulated and use it to their advantage. However, now that the good guys have more control and are using this to their advantage, it's flowing along in that way now too. And it's not going to make sense to a lot of people. It could be difficult to understand in a certain way because we've done things a certain way for so long, but now this feels very new. It feels very new. Okay, we're also going to have, interestingly enough, Chiron here in sesqui-square to Black Moon Lilith. What I get a sense of is the wounds of how we've been outcasted in this world. I feel like they're being healed. What I feel like is a sense of our individuality, sense of sovereignty, sense of self as individual people, but also as a collective, individually as a collective, and how we've all been treated like shit and outcasted by those who were in power. But it feels like that energy is old now. It feels like with the start of this astrological new year, with Mercury coming direct, all that is old now. And that's not going to be happening again. It feels like these wounds are now being healed in whatever way. So that's Friday the 20th. Then we're going to go on to Saturday, March 21st. The only thing that's going on is this Mars in trine to Jupiter. This feels like very passionately driven, expansive. With this aspect of, it almost feels like moving forward in whatever way. I mean, Mars is still in a bit of a conjunction there to the North Node. I think that's being brought up for a reason here. is this taking action on this direction forward. Remember, we're just coming out of eclipse season. The eclipses hang around the nodes of the moon, obviously, and there's been intensity with that in terms of this letting go of this old world and these old ways of doing things and moving in this new direction. And now the start of the astrological new year, where Mars rules Aries, where the sun is the beginning of that, which in relates to with this still in conjunction to the north node, this new path forward and moving forward in this new way and taking action to do that. And this expansiveness surrounding that is to what I feel like, oddly enough, what I get with this is a new home world. A new home world. And a new, regarding this new direction and path forward and the action steps that are being taken towards this in this way. At least that's how it's being described to me through like how I feel and what I'm getting with this. All right, so we've reached the end of the week, the end of the video. If you have made it this far in the video, please leave a purple heart in the comments so that I know you're a real one, and I do appreciate you always. Please remember that if you want this personalized in any way, I do offer personal readings. All those links are in the description below, or you can head on over to my website, mysticalmark.ca. You can also check out the legitimacy and corroboration page on my website as well, where I take these previous forecasts, take the transcript of them, and basically correlate them with the news stories of the week in which I did the forecast for, to kind of show how the forecast related to what actually happened in the world. All right. With that all being said, I don't think I have anything else to say, so thank you all for watching, and I hope to see you all in next week's video. Take care, everyone. Bye.